Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Hescox back again, coming back to my Life Science 7A class. We have just finished characteristics of life in the four organic compounds. Warm-up question, the four organic compounds, you have carbohydrates, which are like starches and things like bread. You have lipids, which are fats and oils. You have proteins, like you would find in meats, cheeses, and a lot of your hormones will be proteins. And then you had nucleic acids, such as DNA and RNA. Today we're going to talk about needs of life. You will have an assignment in a Google form on the Google Classroom. So if you haven't watched the biology song, I highly recommend it. It's very catchy. It kind of goes over what we've been doing. So what are the needs of life? There are 5 basic needs of life according to this text. The first need of life is all living things need energy. Energy, by definition, is the ability to do work. It's the ability to cause something to happen. Most of the Earth's energy comes from the sun, but some of that energy actually comes from deep within the Earth, and we call that chemosynthesis. They use that sulfur at the bottom of the ocean. So almost everything comes from the sun. Autotrophs. The word auto, like automobile, means self. So an automobile means self-moving, if you ever broke down the word. They use the sun's energy to make food. So your autotrophs are going to be mostly our plants, types of algae, and some types of bacteria in some cases. Hetero, which is right here, hetero actually means different. Troph meaning feeding. So heterotrophs have to feed on something other than themselves. Heterotrophs often eat autotrophs. So like when I had rice for dinner the other day, rice is a plant. Rice is an autotroph. I eat the plant, therefore I am a heterotroph. Water is needed for chemical changes in living things. Your body is 100% driven by literally millions and millions and millions of chemical reactions going on at any given time. And all of these tiny little reactions cannot happen if there's not enough water inside your cells or in some cases outside your cells. So we must make sure that there's enough water. So if you ask people why they need water, they always say, well, so you don't dry up. That is not the right answer. We need water for chemical reactions to happen in living things and inside our cells. We need water so much that 2/3 of the mass of your body is actually water. Air is needed for oxygen, or if you're a plant, you need it for carbon dioxide. Oxygen is used to burn food and release energy. When we breathe in, we are going to go through cellular respiration. The oxygen actually burns the sugars in your food, kind of like burning a piece of wood does in your backyard or in your furnace to heat your house. Carbon dioxide, CO2, right here, is used by plants, and it's actually a building block of sugars in photosynthesis. Now this picture here of the sea turtle, you can see he's sticking his nose out. He's coming up for air, and turtles have to come up for air. Even though they swim underwater, they come up for air. So continuing on with our needs. So we need to maintain a proper internal environment. The fancy word for this is homeostasis. Homeostasis is the ability to keep internal conditions the same. Now, when I talk about homeostasis, I like you to think about your thermostat in your house. The thermostat of your house either turns the air conditioning on, turns it off, turns your heat on, or turns it off. It maintains that nice constant temperature inside your house. Now, some organisms can make their own heat, some organisms have to rely on the temperature outside. If you have to rely on the temperature outside, such as this turtle, if anybody knows anything about turtles, they have to absorb heat from the sun. They're what we call cold-blooded. They're also referred to as an ectotherm, meaning their heat has to come from outside. Warm-blooded organisms like us, like birds, and like all mammals, can make their own heat. We call those endotherms, meaning heat from within. Here you can see the turtle a little easier, sunning himself, warming everything up so that he can actually get his metabolism going. The fifth need of life is a living space. All living things need an area to meet their needs. That living space has to have food, water, air, shelter. If it's a plant, it has to have nutrients, it has to have sunlight. And that we have to find all of these things in our living space. You have to find members of the same species to mate with. So mates can actually be a part of your living space. And within the living space, there's something called inside every living space, there are resources, and there are only so many resources to go around. Because there's limited resources, there's competition for those resources. Everybody knows I spend a lot of time with football players. You have one piece of pizza, you have 8 football players. There's going to be competition. Let's see what you remember. Each one of these pictures represents one of the needs of life. Can you guess which is which? I'll be back in a few seconds to tell you the answers. All right, did you come up with some answers? So let's take a look. So here we have a little boy, and then the next picture we have the little boy sweating. Sweating is one way that your body cools you off. So maintaining a stable environment is what we call homeostasis. Here we have a pond and some woods. Fish live in the pond, snails live in the pond, deer live in the woods. So this is a living space. Here we have the sun, probably the easiest one on there. This one is energy. Here we have the sky. Well, what's the sky made out of? This one is air. And down here, well, that one's pretty easy too. This one's water. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please come see me in my room or email me or shoot me a message through Google Classroom and I'll be happy to help you. Until next time, get your work done and be safe. Thank you.